Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lukenessmonster, and today we're going to be looking at my entire Star Wars The Black Series collection. And as you can see here, we have a pretty large Star Wars The Black Series collection. So we do have these 4 detolfs full of figures, as well as a bunch of stuff on top. We're going to be going over all of the helmets, lightsabers, and figures that I own. And to make things simple, we're going to start on top. Of course, first up we do have the Black Series Darth Vader helmet. This is the Empire Strikes Back version, and if you guys know me, I'm a huge helmet collector, and so I try to get most of the Imperial stuff that I can, and so yeah, really big fan of that guy. We do have some vintage collection stuff here. I don't do much vintage collection, but this is pretty much all I do have, and of course, you know, I had to get 5's Jesse and Echo, and then the Sabine is one that actually Hasbro sent me. We do have this custom Lukeness Battalion figure, which was sent to me by Lungai's Hideout. And of course, behind that, we do have the SDCC Kenner Boba, one of my favorites. Now, behind that, we do have the Din Djarin Mandalorian helmet. A little hard to see because we do have all the figures in front of it, but we do have some more customs as well. We do have custom Sev that a subscriber sent to me, as well as the custom Ness figure that SideQuester sent me. If you guys didn't know, I made a fan film, and Ness was my main character, and so that is the custom Ness figure. Then, of course, we do have the trio of figures that Commander Cook sent me of the Lukeness Battalion figures. 3 of my favorite figures of all time, and they're amazing customs made by Commander Cook. Next one, we do have the Holocom Mando, as well as a custom Din Djarin that I made with Commander Cook. We did a whole collaboration video to make that. One of my favorite figures of all time, and it's a great video. You'll have to check that out. Of course, behind that, we do have the White Box Mando, as well as a signed Greedo figure. In front of the Greedo figure, we do have this custom Lukeness Commando. Again, another one of my favorite figures. I don't get into customs too much, but it's a beauty. It's one of my favorite figures that I own. And next to him, we do have a custom Bakara, which was also made by Commander Cook. Of course, next to that, we have our Hot Toys 501st. I don't get into Hot Toys too often, but when I do, they're pretty cool. And so I had to get that 501st Trooper. And of course, next to that, we do have the big behemoth TIE Fighter. We don't get too many Black Series vehicles, but I did find this guy on Facebook Marketplace for like 50 bucks. And so I picked it up. Great vehicle, and I do hope Hasbro does more vehicles like it. And underneath the TIE Fighter, we have our Jabba's Palace display. At least what it is for now. I'm going to do some more Jabba's Palace stuff in the future, but right now we do have Jabba and Slave Leia with Salacious Crumb. And we also have a Jawa just chilling back there. I don't know what his deal is. But yeah, that is pretty much the top of our detolfs. So moving on to the cases, starting off at the top right case here, we do have our Cantina display. This is not at all what I'd like it to be, but right now, it kind of just is what it is. Of course, we have the modal nodes in the background there with our Han and Greedo set up. We do have some droids in the Cantina, even though droids aren't allowed, but it's just kind of some New Hope figures I don't know where else to put. Same with these figures in the front here with Leia, the Rebel Trooper, and Luke. They're New Hope figures, and I don't really have a dedicated New Hope display other than the Cantina. And so they kind of just sit here in the front. But of course, then we do have the Cantina display with Ponda Baba and Dr. Ezevin. We do have the actual Black Series Cantina, as well as Chewbacca there, followed by Obi-Wan and Luke. Moving over, we have our Empire Strikes Back display, one of my favorites. And we're also getting into some 3D printing here because we do have Landspeeder Luke's Empire Strikes Back, like I Am Your Father display, one of my favorites, with Empire Strikes Back Luke and Vader. Of course, the probe droid behind him. With some of our Hoth stuff here, we have Han on the Tauntaun, we have the Wampa, and some more Empire Strikes Back figures here. Really love the Empire Strikes Back display. It's one of my favorites, and it's something that I wish to expand more on just because I'm a huge Empire Strikes Back fan. And of course, let's make it clear, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie. Next up, we have our cluttered prequel display, and this is something that I need to work on. I need to get some more shelf space to make this work, but right now we kind of just have everything sitting in here. Even Obi-Wan is falling over here, but in the back we do have our Jedi Temple March display here with 6 501st Troopers and that Revenge of the Sith Anakin. One of my favorite Landspeeder Luke prints, and right now it's just covered up by everything else. And so, like I said, we are going to be doing a more dedicated prequel display here in the future, but I just got to find some room for it. But of course, we do have the new Maul here, as well as the Maul on the speeder, with a Senate Guard. And of course, some Phantom Menace figures. We do have Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Padme, Anakin, and some of the pit droids from the Mandalorian 3-pack that came out earlier this year. Of course, we have Darth Sidious. We have the Stap, one of my favorite releases of the year. And then we do have Obi-Wan and 2/12 from Revenge of the Sith. Both figures aren't great, but like I said, I think they'll look a little bit better once we have a dedicated prequel display. Next to this, we do have our Star Destroyer bridge, and this is kind of where I keep all of my bounty hunters, of course, with my bounty hunter display. So we do have Dengar, IG-88, Boba Fett, Bosk, Forlom, Zuckuss, and then we just have some kind of other Imperial officers scattered around. We have General Veers and Tarkin. We have like the officer from the Andor show. Of course, we do have Thrawn. And then we just have some other Imperial officers that kind of sit below the deck here. So one of my favorite displays, this one does use Lanespeeder Luke's files, as well as some that I made myself. So a really, really cool display, and it just looks so good here in the Detolf. Moving down, we have some of our like newer media shelf. So we do have our Rebels and Ahsoka figures chilling up at the top. Of course, we do have the Baylan and Shin-Hati there as well. Moving down, we do have Thrawn and some of his goons with the Night Trooper Enoch and some more figures there as well. We also have some more Boba Fett figures. I used to have like a Boba Fett dedicated shelf, and I kind of just got rid of that to make some more room. So a lot of the Boba Fett figures that were on that shelf got merged into this one. So that's why we kind of have like the Droids Boba and the Disguised Boba, even the Prototype Boba, that all kind of just sit in this shelf because I don't really know where else to put that many different Bobas, but they do look good here next to Boba on the throne here with, of course, Fennec Shand. So yeah, this shelf didn't turn out too bad. I'd like to do some rearranging at some point, but it's not too bad of a shelf. Moving over a shelf, we do have our Imperial shelf, and so we have a ton of different troopers here. At the top, we have some of the Rogue One troopers, followed by some of the old body stormtroopers. If we move down, we got some of the new body stormtroopers, and then below that, we just have some kind of random Imperials. So we do have Crosshair and some Elite Squad troopers. We do have some guards. We have the Kenobi Purge troopers. Then, of course, in the front, we do have pretty much every single Black Series Inquisitor here, led by the Duels and Vader with that amazing, like, cracked face here. And, of course, we have Starkiller. But yeah, really, really cool Imperial display, and it's one of my favorite shelves. I just love how this looks, especially with that Darth Vader leading them. And then we move over to one of the Clone Wars shelves. At the top here, we do have some Clone Wars villains, some prequel villains, and some droids. So loving how the top shelf here looks. And I need to make a Separatist dedicated shelf at some point too, but we will get to that. Of course, we do have the Bad Batch. And there's also the Clone Wars Mace Windu with the 187th Trooper. Moving down, we've got some Coruscant Guards with the custom Commander Thorn there, as well as some Mandalorian figures here with the Season 7 Maul, as well as Pre Vizsla. Moving down, we do have some plain white clone grunts, as well as some plain white commandos. And then down below here, we do have pretty much our entirety of the 212th. So we do have the Clone Wars Obi-Wan with the old version of Commander Cody. So I can't wait to get the new one this year when that releases. As well as we do have some knockoffs with Waxer and Boyle, the 212th Airborne, and just some plain grunts here. So pretty cool display, and it's the first of our 2 Clone Wars shelves. And here is our second Clone Wars shelf. At the top we do have Delta Squad, as well as some Siege of Mandalore characters. Down below we do have our Wolfpack troopers, which 4 of the 6 figures here are, of course, knockoffs. The Camino clone is the other one there, and of course Commander Wolf. Next to him we do have Aayla Secura with Commander Bly, and then some of the 13th Battalion, just because they kind of match Bly's paint scheme, so they kind of fit pretty well with him here on the shelf. Down below we have Commander Gree, the 442nd, and another Commander Gree. Next to him we have another custom, which is the Galactic Marine. This one is another one from Commander Cook. And then we do get into our entirety of the 501st. We do have some knockoffs in here, like we do have Tup and Dogma, which are both knockoffs, but of course that ARF Trooper and Oppo there are knockoffs. Another Oppo, as well as Kix, Hardcase, Jesse, are all knockoffs. But moving to the front here, we do have the Clone Wars Ahsoka and Clone Wars Anakin, of course Captain Rex, and then Fives and Echo. So beyond excited to finally have a fleshed out 501st display. And then we do have the ARC Trooper Jesse with a custom head on it because that old ARC Trooper helmet is horrendous, so we had to put a new custom version on to really flesh out that figure. Moving down, we do have our Mandalorian display, and this is another one of my favorite displays that I own. I started off with some Season 1 figures here in the front because Season 1 is my favorite season of The Mandalorian, but as we go up, we have some other random figures scattered in. So we have our kind of Night Owls there, we have some of our like Mandalorian Guild with Paz Vizsla, the Armorer. And then, of course, we just have some other Season 2 and 3 figures moving up, with Moff Gideon, the Dark Trooper, Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker, Migs Mayfeld, and some more other figures like that. And then we also have my custom chromed out Beskar Mando. This is one that I used like a chrome paint pen to make, and it looks pretty cool here sitting on the shelf like that. Unfortunately, you can't really touch the armor because then it'll leave fingerprints and it completely ruins it, so he kind of just sits up there forever because you can't really ever touch him again. Moving over, we do have our Jedi Fallen Order display. Another one of my favorite displays, but this one does kind of look a little cluttered at the moment, so I'm thinking of some ways I can expand this one here in the future. But tons of different Imperial like Purge Troopers and droids and Stormtroopers. There's a lot of like cool Imperial figures in this one, and most of these are specifically from Jedi Fallen Order, so I feel like they fit into the display pretty well. And of course, you cannot forget Rick the Door Technician chilling there in the back. And then I thought it would be cool if we threw in some of the like GameStop exclusive like explosion effects in here as well. Adds a little bit more character to the shelf. Of course, we do have the dead little animal there. He's supposed to be sitting up straight, but he fell over, so. And moving over is kind of the last of our prequel figures. We do have this Camino like landing pad that we did 3D print, and I never got around to painting, and that's why it looks so bad in this shelf right now, but we do have Jango Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi on top of that. I'm thinking about getting rid of that whole 3D printed bit and just using some of those clear risers to really make this out. We do need room for like a prequel display, and so I think this like case here will fit nicely, but I just need to get rid of that 3D printed thing and make some more room for some more figures here pretty soon. But of course, we do have some of our Geonosian droids there looking great, as well as our super battle droids looking amazing. Our droideca's a little hard to see, but he is sitting there behind Kit Fisto. And then, of course, at the center, we do have Anakin and Padme, flanked by some other Jedi Council members with Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, Yoda, Kit Fisto, and Mace Windu. And since this is like technically like my Geonosian Arena display, I did throw in some other Jedi figures there from the Acolyte with Jeki and Saul, just because I needed some more Jedi to kind of fill it out. So they sit in there for now. I'm sure they'll probably be moved at some point, but they fit pretty decently into this display. Moving over, we do have our Return of the Jedi display, one of my favorites. So we have some of like the Jabba's Palace figures in the first 2 rows, with that amazing Return of the Jedi Boba Fett on the top there next to Lando. Of course, we've got some of Jabba's goons next to the Mayfex, C-3PO and R2-D2. I don't really own any Mayfex besides these figures, but they've got that amazing chrome finish. They look so good here on the Return of the Jedi shelf, especially with R2-D2 and that drink display. It just looks really cool. Below that, we kind of have our Endor figures with the Luke, Han, and Leia trio, and of course, a Scout Trooper, and that amazing Scout Trooper speeder bike. Wish Hasbro would do more like small vehicles and speeder bikes like that, because they fit so cool in displays like this. Then, of course, we kind of have our like Rebel display here with Lando, Mon Mothma, and Admiral Akbar. So I'd like to make a fully dedicated Rebel shelf at some point, but right now they just kind of sit here in the Return of the Jedi shelf. Next to them, we have some Force Ghosts. Yoda's chilling down there. He's just kind of hard to see behind everybody else. And behind them is Han and Carbonite. We do have the Endor Rebel Soldier here next to Val, or Vel, I believe her name is. And she's just kind of on this shelf because I think she fits in pretty well as like a unnamed Endor Rebel Soldier. So I think she looks pretty good next to him. And then we do have our final duel display with 2 of the Emperor's Royal Guards. We have the Emperor and the Throne. And then the Return of the Jedi, Luke and Vader. So pretty solid display here. Return of the Jedi is one of my favorite movies, and so I'm really proud of this display. And then, of course, you can't forget, next to that, we do have my custom 3D printed AT-ST. Now, this thing has seen better days. It's missing a cannon on the left side, but he still stands up great. He just needs a little love to put him back together. But yeah, this thing looks really dang cool. If you guys did miss it, I do have a full like playlist on my channel of me 3D printing this thing. And so I do really like this, and it looks good next to the Return of the Jedi shelf. It's pretty cool that I actually got it to line up pretty well there. So really do love that AT-ST. We're going to go through the bottom shelves here pretty quickly just because I don't have a ton of BlackSeries in them. So this one is just some miscellaneous figures from other figure lines. We've got some Spartans, some Avatar figures, some Fortnite figures. So those are just kind of the shelf that my miscellaneous figures go into. Next to that, we have my BlackSeries shelf that I don't really know what to do with, and that's because we have some Kenobi figures, some Rogue One figures, some customs, and just some like figures I don't really have dedicated shelves for. So I think I'd like to make a Rebellion shelf, and so that will solve the problem of all the Rogue One figures here. It'll also allow me to put some of the New Hope Rebels on the shelf, and of course even throw in the like Return of the Jedi trio here on that shelf too. And so a Rebellion shelf is in the cards for the future, but I'm just not really sure where to put it at this point. Now next to that we do have our Marvel Legends shelf, and this shelf is just kind of a mess. I got a ton of Marvel Legends figures that I don't really have a great place to display them with, but they just kind of sit here. I need to get a riser back in here so I can at least display them a little bit better, but I kind of just buy Marvel Legends figures willy-nilly and I don't have a great way to display them. And then last up is our sequel shelf. I'm not going to get too deep into these just because I don't really care about these figures too much. Obviously, we got some nice ones in here. I do love the like Rey Jedi Island display, but it's just not like my favorite shelf, and so I don't really care too much about it. But looking at some of the helmets I own the Shock Trooper helmet, the Shadow Trooper helmet, and the standard Stormtrooper helmet. I'm a huge Battlefront 2015 fan, and so when I had the chance to get all 3 of these helmets from the game, I had to do it. Also got the Darth Sidious lightsaber from the Black Series, pretty cool Force FX Elite saber. And as far as other helmets go, we do have the Scout Trooper helmet, which is one of my favorite helmets, but I just don't have a place on my shelf to really put it at the moment, so once I find room for him, I'll have him hung up somewhere too, but amazing helmet, just need some room for him. And then last but not least, on my wall, we do have some like open boxes that just kind of sit up here. We do have the Credit Collection Mando, which he is open, but he just kind of sits in the box there. And then I know most of you guys probably don't care about the carbonized line, but carbonized line used to be pretty good at one point, and so we do have all of my carbonized figures that I hung up on the wall here, as well as these 2 carbonized figures, which are some of my favorite. The Return of the Jedi card backs for both of these just look so good, and these are such underrated figures, and I really wish people appreciated these more because they're so freaking cool. And of course, they look great next to my other carbonized ones. We do have another Black Series lightsaber here. This one is the Obi-Wan Kenobi saber. I believe it's like the old Ben version of it, but like this is a really old Black Series saber, and I've had it for years now. And that is where my other Black Series saber comes in. This is the Episode 6 Luke Skywalker one, but this is the original Black Series version, so really old saber again. This one is not like the Elite version, and so it doesn't have a removable blade. It doesn't have a ton of like blade effects. The sabers may be old, but they still look amazing here on the wall. But yeah, this is my entire Star Wars: The Black Series collection as of 2024, so I think there's a lot of cool stuff we're going to do moving into 2025, so make sure to stay tuned, but that is our 2024 check-in for our Star Wars: The Black Series collection.